Hello, this is Emily Ahern reporting for the Scrap Review. Today I'm going to show you how quick and easy it is to cut fabric using your Cricut machine. You can use this cut fabric to embellish onesies, t-shirts, pillows, quilts, anything you can think of. And it's simple and easy to do. So let's get started. The first thing you're going to want to do is choose your fabric. I have chosen two 100% cotton fabric pieces. This one is actually made by Cosmo Cricut and is part of their new fabric lines. And this I just picked up at Joann's in the regular quilting section, and it's just a brown with a tiny white polka dot. So the next thing you're going to do after you've chosen that, and I cut these into about 4-inch squares, and that's going to be pretty generous for this project, but we're going to need to do something around the edges, and so we needed it to be a 4-inch square there. The next thing you're going to do is use Steam Seam 2. I don't know what the 2 is about, but I don't know if you need it or what that even means, but Steam Seam is double stick fusible web, and it comes in sheets that are like 8.5 by 11, and they're actually 9 by 12 if you care. And they're like crinkly paper, and when you peel them away, there's a thin piece of paper on each side, and sandwiched in between is fusible webbing that you'll see is shiny and has kind of like a little net sort of texture. And so you're just going to cut this down to your 4 inches squared, and all you do is take your piece of fabric, and I've already cut these into 4-inch squares, and you're just going to peel off the paper and get rid of the paper, and you're left with this slightly tacky, sticky webbing, and you're going to put your fabric right onto it against the sticky side, and then flip it over and just use an iron, and you're going to iron that onto the back of your fabric. And you're just going to, this is only going to take a few minutes, you'll see, a few seconds actually, not even a few minutes. And there it is, and it's stuck on there. And then you're going to do that with your other piece. So now I've got both of my pieces of fabric with the fusible web put on the back, and it's still got the layer of paper on it, and I'm ready to head to my Cricut. Alright, here I am at my Cricut machine. The first thing I'm going to do is load my cartridge. I've chosen the Doodle Charms cartridge, and you just stick it in right here, and then you put the overlay over the keyboard. Let me see if I can get it on there. Then you go ahead and turn on your machine. Now I have my two pieces of fabric that are adhered to the fusible web. You're going to want to put this fabric side down, and the paper is still on this fusible web. So I did a lot of different tests in doing this, and if you do the fabric side up, your needle is going to shred the fabric. So I'm going to go ahead and put both of them on at the same time to save time of loading and unloading the cartridge. Now let's talk for a moment about the pressure settings on your Cricut machine. The Cricut has two different ways to adjust the pressure, meaning how much pressure the blade has to go into the paper, generally. So the first way is this little dial on top of the actual blade itself, and I have that set all the way up to 6, the highest amount it can do. Then this little knob on the side of the Cricut adjusts the pressure as well, and I just have that turned to high. And I've set my size for this character to 3.5 inches, and now we're just going to prep this cutting mat. Let me put it here so you can see. On the Cricut infomercial, an infomercial started running in our area for the Cricut Expression, and they show this method of cutting fabric, and I don't know what kind of magic of television they use, but if you just put it in like this, there's no way that the fabric sticks to the mat. I used a brand new mat, I tried it all different ways, but a great tip to use is blue painter's tape. I'm just going to go ahead and anchor that down onto the mat. I've done this with actual Scotch tape as well. The only difference is it's really hard to peel the Scotch tape back off, and if it shreds, you're like getting your nails in there trying to get the Scotch tape off, but you can use that in a pinch, but the blue painter's tape keeps it down and is easy to remove. So that's the best tip for that. Now you have those all secured. I'm going to go ahead and hit the load button into the cartridge, and I'm just going to move that over so that it's not cutting the painter's tape. And then I'm going to go ahead and choose. I'm doing the blackout on this for this cupcake that I'm cutting out because the regular cupcake cuts out has all these little details, and I don't really need them for this project. But in case you want to know, it will cut out the teeny details out of the fabric. But I'm going to use the blackout feature, and I'm going to go ahead and choose the cupcake. and hit cut. While that's cutting, let me share one more thing with you. You're going to want to try this first on paper and cut a whole bunch of different sizes. I'm going to be adhering these to a 3 to 6 month onesie, and so you don't want to go through all this and cut it out of the fabric and have it be a weird size, either too big for the onesie or too small. So I cut it first with paper and adjusted the size by a few inches and halves of inches until I got it to a good size, and then did it with the fabric. So that's a really good tip, so that you're not going through a whole bunch of fabric when you don't need to be. So next I'm cutting the top of my cupcake, and I just did that by doing the shift key on this Cricut cartridge on the same cupcake button. And I'm going to hit unload, and here it is. I'm going to show you just how easily it peels right out. Maybe easily. It never does it when you want it to, when you're making the video, but it does come out fairly easily. And if there's any little stuck corners, you know, instead of redoing it with a higher pressure, I'm just going to cut those with a pair of regular scissors and peel that right out. So here we have our 2 cut shapes out of the fabric, and I'm going to take off this little candle because I'm not using it for this project. I'm just going to go ahead and snip that right off. And also, because you'll notice that there's the base with the cupcake top and the top, but when I peel the backing off of this fabric, it's going to be a little more transparent, so I'm actually going to trim away this top part of this background of the muffin so that this is just one layer and doesn't show through that kind of dark polka dotted background. And I'm just going to do that by lining it up and cutting around it with my scissors. Now I'll meet you with the ironing board. Alright, I'm at the ironing board and I have my 2 little pieces, and what you do is you just take the paper backing off of the back of each of your pieces and discard that, and it should just peel right away without a problem. Then I'm going to position this right on my little onesie. Like I said, this is a 3 to 6 month onesie, and that's a little high. So the good thing about this, you just reposition until it works out and it's right where you want it. I think that's looking good. And then all you do is take your iron and press down on this. And you're using, it will tell you on the fusible webbing what settings to use, but because the onesie is 100% cotton and the fabric is 100% cotton, you use the cotton setting, which is the highest, and that is all it takes. Now I'm going to add a cute little button on the top as kind of the cherry on top of this cupcake, and another little button inside. I'm going to sew those on. Now, don't send me emails talking about how the baby's going to choke on the button. If you're worried about that or concerned about the baby ripping off the button and choking on it, you can go ahead and even cut a little cherry with the Cricut out of red and add a little cherry. You could even embroider a little stem. How cute would that be? And a little leaf, but I'm just going to go ahead and sew on the buttons. So that's the end of the tutorial. I hope you've gotten some great ideas and inspiration for using your Cricut to cut out fabric to embellish t-shirts and onesies and clothes and pillows and quilts and anything else you can think of. We'd love it if you would share what you create in our gallery at Facebook, and we hope to see you on the scrap review. Thanks.